All right, let's talk about a retirement tool you've probably heard of, the bucket strategy. It's super popular and it's all about giving you peace of mind. But what if the way most people use it is actually flawed? Let's dig in.
So many retirees swear by this method for managing their money, and on the surface it makes a lot of sense. But if you look a little closer, there's a critical weakness that could be quietly holding back your long-term returns.
And this quote really gets to the heart of it. We hear two-bucket and three-bucket strategies thrown around like they're just slight variations of the same thing, but they are not. They are fundamentally different. It's like the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. One is a seriously powerful force, and the other, well, it's not so much.
So let's break it down. We're going to look at the difference between the lightning, that's the original powerful idea, and the lightning bugs, the common version that, might not be lighting up your portfolio the way you think it is.
Okay, here's the main conflict in a nutshell. The original strategy, it's all about sticking to a percentage-based asset allocation. It's basically a behavioral trick to keep you disciplined. But the common strategy that you see everywhere, it's structured around years of expenses, which sounds smart, but it actually encourages you to just ride out the storm. And that can stop you from making really smart moves when it matters most.
Let's go back to the beginning. The original concept, the lightning, came from a financial planner named Harold Avensky, and it's so important to understand the problem he was actually trying to solve.
See, the whole point wasn't to reinvent how you manage a portfolio. No, it was pure psychology. Evansky saw his clients freaking out and panic selling whenever the market took a nosedive, so his solution was pretty simple. Create a bigger cash bucket to act as a psychological buffer. It was all about helping them sleep at night without wrecking their long-term plan. Now, this is the really brilliant part. The strategy forces you to do the right thing. So the stock market goes down, your 60% stock allocation might drop to, say, 55%. To get back to your target, the system makes you sell what's doing well, your bonds, and buy more of what's down, your stocks. You are literally systematically buying low. The cash bucket is just there for comfort. The rebalancing is where the magic really happens.
And what's really interesting is that Evansky himself tweaked the strategy over time. He figured out that having 2 whole years of expenses sitting in cash was actually a pretty big drag on returns since cash doesn't really grow. He realized 1 year's worth of cash was plenty to keep his clients calm, and it struck a much better balance between that psychological comfort and actual financial performance.
Okay, now let's talk about where this whole idea kind of went off the rails. This is the common 3-bucket strategy, the lightning bug. And it's a classic case of a good idea getting lost in translation. So here's how it usually looks. Right away, you can see the focus has totally shifted. It's not about percentages anymore, it's all about years of expenses. You've got your cash bucket for the next few years, a bond bucket for the medium term, and then your stocks way out there for the long term. I mean, it sounds logical, right? But this very structure creates a huge problem.
And there it is. That's the critical flaw. When the stock market crashes, the entire logic of this setup tells you, hey, don't touch your stocks. Just live off your cash and bond buckets. So yeah, you avoid selling stocks when they're down, which feels smart. But what you're also doing is completely missing the chance to rebalance and buy more of those stocks while they're cheap. This whole thing creates this dangerous mindset of just riding out the storm. It feels safe, it feels comfortable, but in investing, storms are where the biggest opportunities are. By just sitting on the sidelines, you're abandoning the single most important discipline, rebalancing. The strategy turns what was supposed to be a helpful behavioral tool into this rigid rule that can really hurt you.
So, is there a way to get that psychological comfort of having buckets without falling into this financial trap? Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's look at a much better way to think about this that combines the best of both worlds. It all starts by getting back to the basics. Just a simple, disciplined, percentage-based asset allocation. Let's use a classic 60-40 portfolio as an example. This is your foundation. Your main job is to keep these percentages in balance through regular rebalancing, no matter what the market is doing.
And now for the aha moment. This is how you get that psychological benefit back without breaking the system. That 40% you have in bonds, it's not just some abstract number. If you're using a standard 4% withdrawal rate for your retirement spending, that 40% bond allocation can cover 10 years of your expenses. All of a sudden, you can see you have this huge safety net, but you never had to abandon your core asset allocation strategy to get it.
So, what's so great about this approach? Well, you get all the comfort of knowing you have years and years of expenses covered in safer assets, but And this is the key. You're still sticking to a disciplined strategy that forces you to rebalance, to buy low and sell high. You're just reframing the math to manage your fear without letting that fear actually call the shots.
Okay, so after all of that, what's the one thing you really need to take away from this? Let's boil it all down.
Here's what you got to remember. First, the whole bucket idea was created to manage our emotions, not to be a rigid portfolio structure. The second you start defining your buckets by years of expenses, you risk breaking that all-important rebalancing engine. So, the takeaway is simple. Build your portfolio based on percentages, first and foremost. Then, go ahead and use the language of buckets. Tell yourself, I've got 10 years of spending safe in bonds, to keep yourself calm when things get rocky.
And that really brings us to the final question to think about. This whole debate about the bucket strategy just goes to show how tangled up logic and psychology are when it comes to money. A truly successful plan needs both. It needs sound logic, and it needs a way to handle our very human emotions. So the real question to ask yourself is, does your strategy do a good job of serving both?